This is a CNBC original.
Hello, I'm Darren Ravel, and thanks for joining us. Over the next hour, we're going to take you inside the world of NASCAR, once the fastest growing sport in America, connected to Southern bootleggers, filling some of the largest venues in the world. But the recession in the imploding car manufacturing business has impacted the sport. After all, no sport relies on the corporate dollar more than NASCAR. Owned and controlled by the France family, NASCAR and its partners are doing its part to weather the storm. You'll hear from NASCAR Chairman and CEO Brian France, and some of its drivers, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards, and from some of the people behind the brands that have stuck with the sport that was born 6 decades ago.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Every weekend, you have this enormous event, 150,000 people, twice the level of any Super Bowl. The enthusiasm, the multi-day event, people bringing their RVs and families attending, and the cookouts and the celebration and the merchandise around that.
Tony!
It's got to be the greatest spectacle every weekend that goes on in the world.
Every weekend from February to November, fans show up to see their favorite driver go bumper to bumper at 180 miles per hour towards the checkered flag. Fans come to live the sport, the larger-than-life drivers, the wrecks, the most minute of details designed to cater to the fan, even the priest's checkered flag stole.
I like the minutia, what goes on here. I mean, there is the race that goes round and round, and that's what a lot of people thinking, I just don't get it. You know, you see it and you're impressed by the speed of everything. There's some bubbas out here, man. That's for sure. If you can get get the snobbery out of the way, these people are having fun.
Oscar-winning actor and director Kevin Costner is a convert to NASCAR. He and his band Modern West recently performed at the Sprint All-Star race in Charlotte, North Carolina. Admittedly, the spectacle of it all and the business behind it has taken a hit, given the economic downturn. Yet NASCAR will still draw some of the largest single-day crowds in sports this year.
Carl, they say that this is it's bigger than a Super Bowl every week.
My first Cup race, I strapped into the 99 car at Michigan International Speedway. I looked up in the grandstands. It's just unreal.
Carl Edwards is famous for this crowd-pleasing victory lane stunt. And this crash at the Aaron's 499 race at Talladega earlier this season. Nearly 150,000 fans watch Edwards walk away from that crash that injured 7 people. It's must-see moments like this that keep the sport top of mind.
It's important to realize we're the largest sporting event every weekend from an attendance standpoint. Most of the time, we're either 1 or 2 on television, so cumulative, we're a monster. We're the big event guys historically, and that hasn't changed.
Brian France is chairman and CEO of NASCAR, short for the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing.
On some weekends, we can have 250,000 people at a facility or more.
It was his grandfather, Bill Sr., a brash, shoot-from-the-hip showman who started NASCAR in 1948 on the dunes of Daytona Beach. Bill Jr. focused on the business end of the sport, orchestrated big deals, and made NASCAR a financial success. But it wasn't until the late 90s when NASCAR successfully expanded out of the South and big companies put millions of national marketing dollars behind star drivers like Jeff Gordon that the sport really started to take off. Momentum continued with the sport's first ever national television deal in 2001, a 6-year, $2.4 billion package with Fox, NBC, and TNT.
Checkered flag in the air. The inaugural Pennzoil 400 at Homestead goes to Tony Stewart.
On the first major race of the New Deal, tragedy struck when superstar driver Dale Earnhardt Sr. died in a crash at the 2001 Daytona 500, the sport's signature event.
It was the racing equivalent of losing Michael Jordan or Joe Montana.
Ironically, Earnhardt's death and the outpouring of grief that followed it lifted NASCAR's visibility in ways a mere race never could. Areas of the country that had never embraced NASCAR, New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, showed an increase in interest. Soon, NASCAR claimed to have more fans than any sport in the country except football. As popularity grew, corporate America joined the party, big time. Sure, companies, usually auto-related, had advertised on race cars for decades, but now a whole new category of companies, beverage giants, food Goliaths, the world's largest telecommunications firms, opened their checkbooks in ways they never had before. Some brands like Budweiser ponied up a reported $20 million to have their logo splashed on the hood of a car. Unlike any other sport, everything in NASCAR is controlled by one family.
It's NASCAR Day.
The France family has maintained an iron grip on a sport where TV ratings, corporate sponsorship, and the number of fans has seemingly defied gravity.
Make sure you download NASCAR's.
But after a great race to the top, attendance and TV ratings are starting to decline. And the car manufacturing business, for decades the foundation of the sport, is crumbling. The declines, however, are relative. NASCAR races are still an unmatched spectacle in the world of sports. The France family owns NASCAR Inc., the sanctioning body, and Brian's sister Lisa France Kennedy is president and vice chairman of the publicly traded International Speedway Corp., a company that controls 13 tracks. But they also have to work with partners like Bruton and Marcus Smith.
When it's race time, we've got about 6,000 people that come and put the race on.
Marcus Smith and his legendary father Bruton run Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, one of the biggest operations in the sport. Their empire, with 8 tracks around the country, includes this, Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina.
In the NASCAR business model, there's not a revenue share on tickets. There is a revenue share on television, and that's a split of 65, 25, and 10. 65% goes to the promoter, 25% goes into the purse, and 10% goes to NASCAR.
All of this has made the France family very rich, along with a handful of partners, like the Smiths and Doc Mattioli, who owns Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, that he opened in 1971.
In the old days, we all did our television deals by ourselves, and then the France came to all of the independent track owners and said, we think if we get together, we can get a better deal. And boy, they did that in spades.
He's done business with all 3 generations of the France family.
The TV money is very good, and it's all because of young Bill. He put the deal together.
We visited both the Pocono and Lowe's tracks to see how the teams, the owners, and the fans come together week after week during racing season. John Griswold, a lifelong NASCAR fan, spends his vacations at races, camping out in the infield with his family days before the race starts. A sign of a tough economy. There are empty spaces around the Griswold site. Several people dropped out of his group due to economic circumstances.
We usually cook for like about 16 or 20 people, but...
So does it seem a little bit weird this year?
Yeah, because like my brother-in-law's not here, he always comes, and he can't make it, and, several other
So you don't
families.
normally have a whole bunch of people circulating around, and now it's just
Right.
8 instead of 20.
Right.
That's exactly the scenario Marcus Smith and Brian France are trying to avoid. Smith is constantly looking for ways to keep the seats and infield packed with fans, and NASCAR is focused on making sure the garages are filled with drivers and teams. A tougher proposition when corporate dollars are drying up. It costs top teams $500,000 to get a car to the race, but once the driver makes it to the speedway, focus shifts from finance to the finish line. The cars are pulled out of the trailers. The crews make final adjustments. With so much money on the line and with so many ways to game the system, Inspectors, measuring down to the millimeter, make sure nobody's cheating.
It's 7 hours before the race starts. Fans are barbecuing outside, debating their favorite drivers. The final touches are being put on the logo. Security officials are debating their plan, and Dave Finley is counting down the minutes.
Basically, the full day is comprised into a sheet of paper. Everything that we have to do today is put on what we call our minute by minute, and I run my whole day by the minute by minute.
Finley, NASCAR's point person on race logistics, even makes sure the planes fly over pit road at the exact right moment during the singing of the national anthem.
What's the best part about your job?
The best part about my job is I get to celebrate victory lane with every single team every single weekend.
What's the worst part about your job?
The rain.
Right on cue. Fortunately, the rain stops. The race is back on schedule. But first, the crowd-pleasing Pennzoil driver burnout.
They make a lot of smoke and lots of circles.
I just tweeted my will.
That puts me in a seat next to NASCAR's bad boy driver, Kyle Busch. Two hours later, drivers and their pit crews are introduced.
Mike Wallace.
The national anthem is sung, and the race begins.
It's tough right now, there's no question.
NASCAR has lost a certain trendiness.
Some of the guys had tears in their eyes. I mean, it's just an unbelievable feeling.
In 2004, CNBC took you inside the world of the largest retailer on earth in one of the most watched and acclaimed CNBC originals ever. Now, 5 years later, a new economy, a new CEO, and new challenges. Go back inside the Walmart empire in an all-new CNBC original, The New Age of Walmart. Go inside, 9 Eastern, CNBC Wednesday.
Right now at Men's Warehouse, you'll find a great selection of fall designer suits on sale. And when you buy any suit, you'll get a second one for only $100. You're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it. Reimagined. Re-inspired. Reinvigorated. All designed to reignite the soul. The all-new 2010 SRX. The Cadillac of crossovers. Zurich Help Point is here to help you feel confident about your business insurance in today's challenging times. Whether it's a rapid response to a crisis or direct access to more locally based risk engineers than anyone else, Zurich Help Point is backed by the strength and stability of Zurich to give you the solutions you need wherever you do business. It's here to help your world. Zurich Help Point, because change happens. Right now at Men's Warehouse, you'll find a great selection of fall designer suits on sale. And when you buy any suit, you'll get a second one for only $100. You're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it.
Sealing your
El techo se caerá en 20 segundos. I don't get it. El techo? El techo se caerá. El techo se caerá en 10 segundos. El techo se caerá en 10 segundos. Tick, 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 tick. Ah!
Save up to 50% off private instruction. Call 1-866-4-BERLITZ by September 27th. Available in most major languages. Berlitz, the one that works. Funciona.
The greatest film saga of all time and the greatest film music ever composed come together in a spectacular live event. Star Wars in concert, a full symphony orchestra, massive high-def screens, original movie props. Relive the saga as never before.
Awesome! Reserve seats at Ticketmaster, Ticketmaster.com, and at 8concerts.com.
1972, NASCAR legend Richard Petty signed a contract with STP. The deal with the fuel and oil additive brand was considered the first national sponsorship of a stock car. For $200,000, STP bought the rights to advertise on Petty's car for the entire season. Today, most cars in NASCAR's top series, the Sprint Cup, are covered in sponsorships, and $200,000 doesn't buy much anymore.
Amp up.
Pepsi's energy drink AMP splits its sponsorship of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s number 88 car with the National Guard. The two combined to pay more than $20 million a year for the rights. And AMP's story is an amazing success.
It was honestly an explosion. We had 5 million consumers try the product who had never tried it before. We drove awareness up to 76% from what had been in the 50s. It was just honestly a perfect storm.
AMP is now in 4th place in the energy drink category, up 2 spots from when it agreed to slap its logo on the hood of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car in 2008. But the brand got more bang for its buck.
Last year, over $750 million in AMP-branded merchandise was sold at tracks. That's the power of NASCAR. That's the power of Dale.
Earnhardt is undoubtedly boosted by the support of fans, who used to support his father, Dale Earnhardt Sr. But unlike his late father, Dale Jr. rarely finds himself in victory lane these days.
Right here's my boy.
Yeah.
My boy.
Right here.
You better start stepping up, though.
Earnhardt, nicknamed Little E, has only won 3 races in 4 years. This year, he will likely miss the chase, NASCAR's version of the playoffs, for the 3rd time in 5 years. When sponsors talk about the value of NASCAR, they often talk about the, quote, unprecedented access they receive. Paying for a primary sponsorship allows a company to use the driver before every race for big appearances, or just meet and greets with some of the company's top revenue generators.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you all.
We went with Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 M&M's car, to the Mars headquarters in Hackettstown, New Jersey, where he was given a tour, spoke to employees, and signed autographs.
Well, the biggest thing, you're made available. They get opportunities to come see you.
So what does a company get when they buy into NASCAR? For primary team sponsors, it's their logo on the hood of the car. For official partners, it's the right to get into this never-before-seen meeting, where companies make a speedy pitch to score millions of dollars worth of business from each other.
What are you doing?
Aflac is reportedly paying $78 million over 3 years to be the primary sponsor on Carl Edwards' car. But Aflac also pays NASCAR a fee to call itself the official supplemental insurance partner of NASCAR. The company also gets to pitch their brand to other NASCAR partners.
First and foremost, we are building relationships with the other sponsors of NASCAR, and it's very important to us because at the end of the day, Aflac, we don't have a product, we don't have something you can taste and touch. We have a promise that we're making.
Office Depot not only sponsors driver Tony Stewart, they also pay to be called the official small business of NASCAR. A deal that's important because of the business-to-business opportunities it provides.
We're taking that relationship to the next level, and in some cases, it's those relationships that are helping us connect with other of the hundreds of sponsors in NASCAR.
Return on investment is being scrutinized more than ever before, but the company that pays the most money to be affiliated with NASCAR, Sprint, says all is well. In 2004, Nextel became the primary sponsor of NASCAR's top circuit by agreeing to a sponsorship record 10-year deal reportedly worth $750 million. When Sprint acquired Nextel, branding at all the tracks eventually became Sprint. By 2008, NASCAR's top series was known as the Sprint Cup. Tom Murphy, Sprint's vice president of media and sponsorships, told us the brand's investment in the sport hasn't changed.
This is a superior marketing asset, and we judge it in the ways that any marketer would, no differently than when we buy television advertising and airtime, where we buy print newspaper or magazine advertisements. This is a giant ad machine for us.
Sprint gets hundreds of millions of dollars in television exposure every year of the deal. And the company has further appealed to NASCAR fans by improving cell reception at the track, a long-time problem. NASCAR fans have proven to be more loyal than others. The company says fans churn at half the rate that other customers do. But it's not all a pretty picture in the world of NASCAR, as Chairman and CEO Brian France readily admits.
It's tough right now. There's no question that I think most CEOs and most commissioners would say that they've never seen more challenges on balance than they do right now.
On the top of France's mind is the health of the U.S. car industry, a business that is intricately connected with the sport. Roughly 10% of track revenues and hundreds of millions of dollars come from the car manufacturers. And of course, two of the four companies whose cars are in the sport, General Motors and Chrysler, filed for bankruptcy in 2009.
We made our rounds in Washington with our Congress and others who had concerns, and we made the point that these companies still have to sell their products long after they've gone through a business challenge. So we're one of the places that has historically worked well, and we're going to work in the future for these companies.
Before the season, Chrysler officials said it would cut NASCAR marketing expenses by 30%. In June, General Motors, whose cars have won the last 6 Sprint Cup titles, announced it was cutting factory support of teams in NASCAR's lower-level series, part of a group of reductions that GM execs say, like other cuts, will help the bottom line.
We've actually seen that the ROI increase because we've had a little bit less investment, and we've continued to keep the sales up there by being creative.
Ford execs say their NASCAR spend will stay the same in 2009, after making some major cuts last year. Even though 40% of the buying public considers themselves race fans, we asked Ford's Brian Wolf if the win on Sunday, buy on Monday mentality makes sense.
Some of the critics say, how do you sell when the car that's on the track is not the car that people would drive on the streets? And I'll give you an example. You go through it, it has no doors, no speedometer, no gas gauges, no air conditioning, no airbags, no locks, no cruise control, no keys, no glove compartment, no horn.
Sure, but and that's true. But when you look at all forms of motorsports, right from the beginning, when you're out on the track, it's what's in the vehicle, right? And Ford Racing, we use the same technology that we use in our production products to help make that car perform better on the track.
Monty Dutton is a veteran syndicated NASCAR columnist. He says, unlike the days of old when each brand of car had different things to offer, today, NASCAR's mandated cookie-cutter standard makes it easier to abandon the car company support.
All the trends toward making the cars more and more alike actually play into NASCAR's hands. I think NASCAR is much better able to go it without the manufacturers than they once were. I don't think anybody wants that to happen, but the cars are generic, and the terrible secret that nobody wants to talk about is that the engines are a great deal alike.
Still, car manufacturers say there's value in NASCAR.
Our internal tracking studies show that from 2004, when we entered the truck series, up until now, we've gone up about threefold as far as purchase consideration, and actually we're on par with Ford right now.
Also of concern is attendance hit by the recession. The crowds are still the biggest in sports on a week-to-week basis, but sellouts are no longer a given. Some tracks have seen declines of up to 25% this year. It's no wonder that International Speedway Corporation is projecting revenues to drop by at least 8% to roughly $700 million in 2009. There has also been a double-digit dip in the number of people watching races.
This year, as well as the tail end of last year, you hear the reports of the double-digit declines in TV ratings. Why do you think that is?
Well, look, ratings are in part a momentous thing. When you get to the size audience that we have, the last 10%, the next 10%, it goes in a lot of part on storylines, momentum.
Data also shows that NASCAR is losing the younger audience. The average NASCAR viewer this year is 2 years older than the median age of the viewer in 2007. To that end, France met with teams in May to discuss ways of improving the product to make the sport more exciting. It's a delicate game to play, balancing the needs of the traditional fan with the wants of the new fan.
I think part of it is that NASCAR is scrambling because I do think that NASCAR has lost a certain trendiness, but I think the argument can be made that given the economy, things are holding up pretty well. I mean, they still have enough cars to fill the field every week.
We don't know if NASCAR has reached its peak. We're going to have attendance, drop a little bit or ratings drop a little bit. But like anyone, if we can get through the lean times, make our sport the best it can be, we'll prevail.
It's awesome. I mean, it doesn't matter what venue we go to. It's unbelievable. I mean, to do something that people said was crazy and couldn't be done.
Monday, a downward spiral felt across the world. A flood of cash hoping to revive the global economy. Now, 1 year later, world financial leaders, did they react swiftly enough? And what's next? All day Monday on CNBC, first in business worldwide.
Goodwrench. We roll out the blue carpet for drivers of these great GM brands. We can do the small things, the big things, just about everything. Right inside your GM dealership. Find out more at goodwrench.com.
Wireless can bring even more freedom to the freest country on earth. So why should you be penalized for talking to someone just because they're on another network? Shouldn't you be able to call any mobile on any network at any time? It's a free country. Knock yourself out.
Introducing the revolutionary Any Mobile Anytime. Now on the Sprint network, you're free to call 250 million mobile phones nationwide without worrying about the meter running. Only from Sprint, the Now network.
Have some fun with that truck. Okay, time's up. Here you go. That's a nice one. I made that.
A piece of junk. Yeah. I want the red truck.
Well, you can't have the red truck. See, that was a limited time offer only. It's right here in the fine print.
Even kids know it's wrong to hide behind fine print. Why don't banks? We're Ally, a new bank who always gives you a great rate with nothing buried in the fine print. It's just the right thing to do.
To help avoid dental problems, I give patients Act Restoring Mouthwash, the 3-Act mouthwash.
Act 1 kills germs for fresh breath. Act 2 restores minerals. Act 3 strengthens enamel.
It's why we recommend it.
Act Restoring Mouthwash. For strong teeth, act now.
So, I stick this bounce bar inside my dryer, and for about 4 months, it'll freshen my clothes automatically? Wow, let's see you in action. I wish all my chores took care of themselves automatically.
Enjoy automatic freshness for about 4 months with the new Bounce Dryer Bar.
National Car Rental knows I'm picky. So at National, I go right past the counter, and you get to choose any car in the aisle. Choose any car! You cannot be serious!
Seriously, you choose.
Okay.
Go National. Go like a pro. You like your health coverage, but worry what happens if you get sick or change jobs. 8 ways reform matters to you. A cap on deductibles and out-of-pocket costs. No annual or lifetime limits on coverage. Preventive care, covered. Pre-existing conditions, covered. No higher rates due to gender. Extended coverage for young adults. No more coverage denied if you get sick. And guaranteed renewal even if you do. Learn more today.
GM drivers, it's Goodwrench and Go time. 3 great services, all in one place, all at one time, all for one price for most GM vehicles. But it's only for a limited time at participating GM dealers.
This is Tony Stewart celebrating in victory lane after winning the 2009 All-Star race. Confetti, champagne, top of the world of NASCAR Sprint Cup racing. It's yet another win for the 38-year-old nicknamed Smoke, but the smile is as wide and the emotion is as deep as when Stewart won his first race in 1999.
Some of the guys had tears in their eyes. I mean, it's just an unbelievable feeling to know that this was something that we were a part of putting together.
We spoke to him 48 hours before the big win.
So what's it like to be part of a Super Bowl every weekend?
It's awesome. I mean, doesn't matter what venue we go to.
When Tony Stewart, the fiery 2-time Sprint Cup champion, who has driven a car on almost every competitive circuit in America, isn't racing 180 miles per hour around a track, he's Tony Stewart, the businessman, and he's just as competitive off the track. For years, he's owned racetracks, open-wheel teams, and a remote control car outfit, even counting a public relations firm and a food company among his 13 businesses.
So what is it about the world of business that appeals to you?
Well, you know, I don't know that we specifically went out to be a businessman. It just has transformed into that.
Stewart's business cards now include the title of Sprint Cup team owner. That separates him from most of the drivers on the 43-man circuit. The majority signed contracts to work for racing teams owned by entrepreneurs, including Stewart's former employer, Joe Gibbs, the ex-football coach who owns Joe Gibbs Racing. Now, Stewart just doesn't cash the checks, he writes them. So how did he get here? After 10 years of racing for Gibbs, Stewart negotiates a release from the last year of his contract with the team. That lets him join Haas CNC Racing for the 2009 season. The deal? Stewart puts in no cash, but gets a 50% stake in the Haas team. He brings a champion's know-how and gives an also-ran team, no wins in 7 years, an instant credibility boost.
And there's not very many team owners that are willing to give you half of their company and let you run with the ball, so to speak. There's no way that in this time frame that we would have tried to start from scratch and do it on our own.
As the 2009 season begins, Stewart prepares for a fresh start as driver-owner. The new logos are ready, the shop in Huntersville, North Carolina is set, and Stewart hires driver Ryan Newman to drive for his team.
There was a lot of doubt, obviously, when we started this, but the thing that I've made a very high priority is that when I get to the racetrack Thursday night, the night before we start practice, I take that owner hat off and I stick to the driver role.
Following that philosophy helped Stewart. 14 races into the season, Stewart becomes the first driver-owner to lead the points race since 1992, a span of 556 races. It's Saturday night at Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina, and all-star fever is in the air. NASCAR's top 21 drivers compete in this 100-lap exhibition. The winner takes home $1 million, which is the money equivalent of winning 5 races. Fireworks fly. Tony's crew does last-minute checks, and it's green flag ahead. Stewart starts the race in the 15th position, but as the laps wear on, the number 14 Office Depot car starts to make the move up the board, thanks in part to some good adjustments made on the car by the pit crew. Then comes the luck. Pole sitter Jimmy Johnson drops out of contention, and Jeff Gordon spins out. With 5 laps to go, Stewart moves into 3rd place behind Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth, then past Busch into 2nd place. Smoke is right where he wants to be. Stewart would never be in this position if he didn't employ a time-tested formula, delegating authority and believing in role players, like this man, Brett Frood.
He has been my lottery ticket, so to speak, since he started working with us, and he's been responsible for the growth of all my companies. Without Brett, I wouldn't have the corporations that we have.
Frood played lacrosse at Brown, graduated Harvard Business School, and worked on Wall Street.
There's 2 objectives, whether we're building widgets or we're racing, and it's putting a product out there that beats your competitors, and it's building a sustainable business that can be profitable.
The other key cogs, crew chief Darian Grubb, came from Hendrick Motorsports. Industry veteran Bobby Hutchins was plucked from Dale Earnhardt Incorporated to be the director of competition for Stewart Haas. Since profitability is tougher these days, Hutchins' job is to figure out just how much budgets can be cut without impacting the chance to get into victory lane.
We've tried to take everything in here from a nut or a bolt or a washer and try to, do the diligence on it and make sure that we're not overpaying for it.
Stewart's past success in the sport made it easier to land primary sponsors, the companies that pay most of the freight.
White flag is in the air for Tony Stewart.
Stewart left his familiar orange and white of Home Depot and signed on with Office Depot, which agreed to pay to be the primary sponsor on 60% of the races. Old Spice took the rest of his schedule. The split is indicative of the new NASCAR, where companies share a driver in the name of savings. That's just fine for Stewart, The bottom line is the same. The two companies pay Stewart-Haas about $20 million combined for the rights. For Office Depot, which previously sponsored Carl Edwards' car, Stewart wasn't just any old driver. His entrepreneurial spirit appealed to them.
Here is a successful, proven driver, a two-time champion, leaving a great, well-funded owner to go off on his own. And that's sort of the American success story, isn't it? And that's what our customers are all about. They're these small businesses out there who risk their own capital every single day.
In Stewart, Office Depot also gets one of NASCAR's most popular and quirky drivers. CEO Steve Odland saw that firsthand during the most important race of the year, the Daytona 500.
So tell me about Tony's personality.
Biggest race of the season. He's a new owner. And I was listening to the in-car chatter during the race, and all of a sudden, Tony starts singing.
Ole, 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 ole. Yeah, there's everything else to do.
But it's all not a breeze. Unlike his old days, as an owner, Stewart is now paying much closer attention to his bottom line. Factoring in the trailer, the car, the per diem for the crew of 21, each race costs about $600,000 per car. Total budget per car per year, about $30 million. And profitability only comes with winning. With that in mind, how about that $1 million to win the All-Star race? Stewart's not thinking about it now. 3 laps to go and it's neck and neck with Matt Kenseth until Stewart makes his move for the checkered flag.
Tony Stewart makes $1 million.
This isn't just one good Saturday night in May. His entire rookie season as driver-owner has been an amazing Cinderella run. 3 weeks after winning the exhibition All-Star race, we caught up with Stewart before the Pocono 500. Forced to use a backup car and start in the last position after crashing his car in practice, Stewart told us he wasn't worried. This was the scene 7 hours later. Yep, that's Stewart in victory lane again. The off-the-track stats are just as impressive. Forbes now believes the Stewart-Haas team is worth $80 million. That's a 96% increase from the previous season, and good for the 8th most valuable team in the entire sport. But that's to think about on Mondays.
It's nice just to kind of defied the odds, I guess, to a certain degree, and have done something that people said should have been a train wreck this year.
This orange guy right here, his name is Tony Stewart, which I had to find a way to dye him red now.
We're going to have attendance, drop a little bit, or the ratings drop a little bit, but like anyone, if we can get through the lean times, make our sport the best it can be, we'll prevail.
It's a $13 billion industry where the bottom line has always been sex sells. Porn, business of pleasure. CNBC tomorrow.
Got NFL size odors in your house? Febreze Air Effects actually eliminates odors in the air and leaves a fresh scent. Febreze Air Effects. It's a breath of fresh air. Got a wet pet in your house? Febreze Air Effects eliminates odors in the air and leaves a fresh scent. Febreze, official air freshener of the NFL.
There's no secret to building vehicles that retain their value. You design them to look and perform beautifully. You engineer them to last, and you infuse them with the latest technology. But of all the luxury brands in America, only one has been awarded for doing this better than any other. Acura, ranked #1 in expected resale value among luxury brands.
Take advantage of attractive financing on select Acura models for well-qualified customers.
Approximately 2 out of 3 people being treated for depression still have depression symptoms. Talk to your doctor. If your antidepressant alone isn't enough, one option he may consider is adding Abilify. Abilify is FDA approved to treat depression in adults when added to an antidepressant. Call your doctor if your depression worsens or you have unusual changes in mood, behavior, or thoughts of suicide. Antidepressants can increase these in children, teens, and young adults. Elderly dementia patients taking Abilify have an increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor if you have high fever, stiff muscles, and confusion on Abilify, as these may be signs of a life-threatening reaction, or uncontrollable muscle movements, as these could become permanent. High blood sugar has been reported with Abilify and medicines like it. In some cases, extreme high blood sugar can lead to coma or death. Other risks include dizziness upon standing, decreases in white blood cells, which can be serious, seizures, impaired judgment or motor skills, or trouble swallowing. If an antidepressant alone isn't enough, talk to your doctor about the risks and benefits of adding Abilify.
Tired of Are credit card payments and fees eating you alive? Then stop paying the credit card companies and keep your hard-earned money for yourself. AmeriValue Debt Solutions can help you lower your interest rates and cut your credit card debt up to 50%. All you have to do is call 800-710-1792. Call in the next 30 minutes for a free consultation. Take the first step to getting out of debt. Call AmeriValue Debt Solutions now. 800-710-1792. 800-710-1792.
Your home team's ace is throwing a no-hitter. Will you be watching history in the making or hitting refresh on some website till you get carpal tunnel?
All your team's games are home games with the MLB Extra Innings Package, no matter where you live. Follow your fantasy roster. Get 80 out-of-market games a week and enhanced viewing features with MLB Extra Innings on digital cable. Call 1-888-COMCAST to order.
Fans, and there is Julie Geary.
No way. Oh my God. Wow.
This orange guy right here, his name is Tony Stewart, which I had to find a way to dye him red now.
It starts with the flag outside her Philadelphia area home, continues with the hand-painted murals on the swimming pool, and includes the Dale Earnhardt Sr. tribute on the family truck.
We drove to Florida to take a picture with Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car.
Naturally, there's Tony Stewart and Dale Jr. pajamas on the hook near the shower. And there's the Earnhardt Sr. tribute on the oil tank. The coffee table? A used racing tire, of course.
We brought it home from a Dover race. We had to leave it outside for about 11 months because it stunk so bad, and we couldn't bring it in the house.
And there's more. A lot more. When the green flag is dropped on race day, you can find the Geary family at home with friends and neighbors, catching every lap, every turn, and every spin out on TV.
Sunday here is a family day. It's our day to get together. Everybody goes to church, and then they come here for second church.
If NASCAR is the second church, then the Geary basement is its cathedral. Welcome to the home of NASCAR's #1 fan, where thousands of pieces of memorabilia are on display. While extreme, they aren't alone. NASCAR fans spend approximately $2 billion a year on NASCAR licensed merchandise. But for the Gearys, what started out as a small collection 10 years ago has grown into a wall-to-wall, ceiling-to-floor collection, worthy of earning the top prize in the first ever NASCAR's Biggest Fan Contest. The $25,000 prize spent on, yep, more stuff.
So when was the last gift that you got that was not NASCAR motivated?
The Gearys' rec room may be extreme.
GN68.
But the legendary loyalty of the NASCAR fan is no joke. NASCAR fans are 3 times more likely to buy the products and services of companies tied to the sport than those that are not. Fans like the Gearys are a marketer's dream.
Well, anybody who's actually supporting my driver, I'm definitely going to try and do something for him. When Junior drove the Bud car, you wouldn't catch anything but a Budweiser in our fridge.
I didn't give you any time. You opened that fridge.
Okay.
All right, that's pretty good. Miller Lite, that's the Kurt Busch car.
Kurt Busch.
And you have plenty of Coke in here.
Sponsors in the fridge and on the phone.
This is Tony Stewart, driver of the number 20 car.
I have the original Tony Stewart Nextel phone that came out 8 years ago. I still have that phone. I still use that phone every day. I will not give it up until they make a new Tony Stewart Sprint Nextel phone.
The loyalty extending beyond the home. With Office Depot, the new sponsor of her favorite driver, Tony Stewart, Geary is now a fan of that company as well.
I shop there all the time. I buy all my inks and supplies for my printing. Everything at work even. They used to buy stuff at Staples, and I made them stop and buy stuff at Office Depot now. They have an Office Depot account because I made them.
Stewart and Earnhardt, both senior and junior, rule the day at home. But sometimes loyalty can be a cruel mistress. Like when 2 separate team changes in 10 months makes a decade's worth of memorabilia suddenly out of date.
I'm going to keep it all, and then, someday it's going to be worth either oodles more or it's going to be worth oodles less. I don't know. We'll see.
For the Gearys, that means the hunt is on for collectibles featuring new sponsors.
It's really tough to replace all the things you have. Plus, I don't know whether they're going to make everything that I have Home Depot, Office Depot.
The search might take longer than anticipated because, as with everything in the sport these days, the economy is taking its toll, especially on the sport's most ardent fans.
The economy is definitely a factor in getting to races. Actually, we'll do only 2 races this year.
Compared to?
Normally we do at least 2, if not 3 or 4.
So as NASCAR's biggest fan weathers the economic storm, there is a potential bright spot on the horizon. It turns out that NASCAR's past just might be the Geary's future.
This is always our big joke. When we first started the collection, and we're going to, sell it at Christie's, make oodles of cash, and we're going to buy a nice big Winnebago and just chase races for our entire retirement is what we want to do. And that's always been our joke. And I mean, if any of this is worth anything, when that happens, you never know, we might do it.
How much are you willing to shake things up when you're considering what to do with the sport?
The answer is a lot.
For years, they've kept Tuesdays safe. Now SVU is moving to Wednesday.
Great. We'll take it from here.
We do things a little differently. I'm trying to confess here. Will someone listen?
New SVU, Wednesday 9/8 Central on NBC.
A new economy, a new CEO, and new challenges. The new age of Walmart. Wednesday on CNBC. First in business worldwide.
Zurich Help Point is here to help you feel confident about your business insurance in today's challenging times. Whether it's a rapid response to a crisis or direct access to more locally based risk engineers than anyone else, Zurich Help Point is backed by the strength and stability of Zurich to give you the solutions you need wherever you do business. It's here to help your world. Zurich Help Point, because change happens.
To help avoid dental problems, I give patients Act Restoring Mouthwash, the 3-Act mouthwash.
Act 1 kills germs for fresh breath. Act 2 restores minerals. Act 3 strengthens enamel.
It's why we recommend it.
Act Restoring Mouthwash. For strong teeth, act now.
Great looking skin? It's in the DNA.
New Regenerist DNA cream with SPF 25 doesn't just correct, it helps protect your DNA without a $200 department store price tag. Olay Regenerist.
As Washington continues the debate over healthcare reform, AARP has chosen a side, yours. We're fighting to guarantee that you'll never be denied coverage because of your health or age, to prevent anyone from coming between you and your doctor, and to make sure patients don't take a back seat to insurance companies. Because at AARP, we believe your health is worth fighting for. Learn more at aarp.org.
Americans are always finding ways to be more responsible. And so is BMW. It's called Efficient Dynamics, a commitment to lower emissions while enhancing the thrill of the drive. It's the reason BMW offers the most fuel-efficient luxury fleet in America. And while you'll find responsibility quite exhilarating.
Hurry in to the BMW Greener Days sales event now and lease a 328i for only $349 a month.
It seems no.
While mincing, mashing, and flambéing.
While deciding on Shanghai Shimmer or Mountain of Troy.
Between the romaine wedge and the warm zucchini quiche.
While streaming, downloading, and interfacing.
Between driving to the hoop and driving to the orthopedist.
22,000 firm while being totally flexible.
Make the offer you want on the car you want whenever you want. Chevy is on eBay.
Feedback?
100% positive.
Our best cars, your best offer. Go to Chevy.ebay.com.
Want smarter home phone service at a smarter price? Talk to Comcast. We give you unlimited nationwide calling that offers 35% savings over AT&T. Plus 12 popular calling features, voicemail you can check online, and call clarity that's rated #1. AT&T can't say that. And it's brought to you on America's leading fiber optic network for TV, phone, and internet. So hurry, get Comcast Digital Voice for as low as $19.99 a month. And get smarter home phone for less. Call now.
There may not be a better economic gauge for the overall health of America than NASCAR. The declining number of company logos on each car and unfilled seats at the speedways indicate just how tough a year it has been.
You know, I think we're coming out of this tough economy better than most. Obviously, we've had some challenges and issues like everybody else, but we also realize we're very fortunate that week in and week out, we're still drawing the largest crowds in sports.
If CEO Brian France wants to continue drawing those big crowds, his sport, that is largely catered to white males, must broaden its fan base.
If the word NASCAR appeared anywhere in your wedding vows, you might be a redneck.
Is there a belief that if you have an African-American driver, more African-American fans will be part of this sport?
I think that that's a theory.
France recently hired Max Siegel to head up NASCAR's diversity program, a program that NASCAR insiders readily admit has had several false starts over the years.
It's going to take a lot of time on the talent side to develop drivers.
There are at least 4 African Americans participating in NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program. Siegel says he thinks NASCAR needs a good 5 years before it could truly be judged on its efforts. According to NASCAR's 2008 statistics, only 7.8% of the fan base was African American.
What's at stake if diversity doesn't happen as NASCAR hopes?
Well, I think that not only for socially responsible reasons diversity is important, but it just makes good business and economic sense.
France understands that expanding the fan base isn't enough to ensure future success. He needs a healthy stable of teams to be financially secure, and that might mean attracting more non-U.S. automakers to the track. The question is, will companies, potentially including Honda, Hyundai, or BMW, find it valuable to spend more money developing specific engines for NASCAR? For Toyota, the first and so far the only non-U.S. company on the circuit, the extra investment has been worth it.
I think it's a commercial. You have to look at it specifically like that. It's whether you're buying a television commercial or whether you're buying a magazine commercial. It's just another way to reach out to the masses and showcase your products. It's pretty simple.
No better showcase than this, a Toyota hybrid pace car leading the way before the All-Star race in Charlotte. The future for NASCAR also involves going green, or greener anyway. There is no other sport that has more of an impact on the environment. The 850 horsepower engines on the 43 cars that start each race get 5 miles to the gallon. For the Daytona 500, that's roughly 4,300 gallons of gas. And that doesn't include the tens of thousands of cars and motorhomes surrounding the speedways. But NASCAR is doing what it can to neutralize the impact.
We recycled we captured 18 tons of solid waste during Earth Week at our Phoenix event, which was our launch.
18 tons?
18 tons. 20% of that was in our campgrounds. Goodyear capturing the tires that are used in the sport and recycling those. The Sunoco, any excess gas is actually captured in the safety clean system.
So what's the net effect? Do you think at some point that everything that is seen as originally wasted, maybe just on what's the track, that you can get it down to as close to a zero net effect as possible?
You know, the way we're looking at this is we're taking a step back. I mean, literally, if you were to look at this venue today and look at it from 10,000 feet in the air and look at the footprint and then really prioritizing where we can have the most impact.
Each sprint car uses approximately 16 quarts of oil each race, making it one of the most fossil fuel intense activities on Earth. But NASCAR works with a company called Safety Clean to collect and reuse the oil.
Okay, Darren, after the teams practice or qualify their cars here in the Cup Series, the teams will come to the Safety Clean recycling station and actually dispose of their used oil.
The oil is shipped to East Chicago, Indiana, where it's processed, resold to major oil companies, and then reused in cars and trucks. Even military vehicles in Iraq and Afghanistan run on repurposed Safety Clean oil. Safety Clean says it collected and repurposed 175,000 gallons of oil last year. All of this is testing just how nimble Brian France can be.
How much are you willing to shake things up when you're considering what to do with the sport?
The answer is a lot. We're willing to do what it takes.
NASCAR's future isn't likely to resemble its supercharged recent past. In a tough economy, sponsors will come and go, teams will pare budgets, and fans may attend fewer races and spend less when they do. But rest assured, while baseball may be the national pastime, NASCAR is, for millions, a national obsession. Every weekend from February to November, NASCAR's faithful will take to the track in cars, pickups, and RVs, waiting for the announcer to make the call, start your engines.
For all of us here at CNBC, I'm Darren Ravel. Thanks for watching. Just testing the tires.
Instant soup.